Another Asian Heritage Month special. I'm so excited to have Jay Lee here with me today. A little bit before we begin, so with Asian Heritage Month, which is for the month of May, we are doing highlights for different business owners in our community, our local unsung heroes, as I call it. And I really want to highlight different entrepreneurs and business owners in our community from Asian background because it's just not talked about enough. So I wanted to highlight my fellow entrepreneurs and Asian business owners. So I'm so excited for this morning's interviewee. It was so hard to get a hold of him because I think he mentioned he had 15 interviews this week alone. So I am so excited and honored to have Jay Lee here with me today. Thank you for taking time. So I'm going to have him pop up here.
Hey, Andrea,
Good
can you hear me?
morning. Thanks for coming on my show. And a little bit to introduce Jay Lee. Jay Lee is a former introvert and pastor who turned into a 7-figure closer, which is amazing. I'm so happy to have you on this morning.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
Awesome.
And if you can hear both of us and you're watching, say hello and type a little message there. Yay, Justin and Mike, good morning.
Oh, Justin's in the house.
Justin's
awesome.
in the house. So,
Come on.
Early bird gets the worm, as we say, right? All right. So with today's interview, and, we're just going to get up close and personal with you, Jay. So I hope you're ready for my questions. But I'm just so excited to have such a superstar like you for my interview. And so, again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm ready and waiting.
Amazing. So I guess for first and foremost, because it's Asian Heritage Month, why don't you share with us what is your background and a favorite thing about your culture?
Yep. So people have called me all things. People have called me Vietnamese. They've called me Indian. They've called me Chinese, Japanese, but I'm actually South Korean Canadian. Born and raised in Toronto. Stomping grounds are in Scarborough, for those of you who are in the 6. And now I live in the West End, which is in Etobicoke.
Amazing. So what's your favorite thing about being a South Korean?
The favorite thing about the South Korean heritage as a kid was always waiting for New Year's. So, in the Chinese, they get the red envelopes kind of things. In the Korean heritage, we would get a payout like no other, right? So our parents, our uncles, our aunts, our grandparents, they used to all give us money, and it was a time of, you wear it's called hanboks, where the costume uniforms, and you get dressed in your silly clown costumes or whatever. They're actually beautiful, to be honest. But as a kid, I hated wearing them. And then you would bow, and there's a certain way to bow, and you get back up and you sit down and you say "새해 복 많이 받으세요," which means it's Happy New Year's. Receive a lot of blessings, that type of thing. And it's the one time and the only time that your parents or your grandparents or your uncles and aunts will be able to kind of stick it to you, like in terms of give you advice or words of knowledge, or a lot of times it'd be like, if you're a single, they'd be like, hey, when are you going to get married, or when are you going to get a boyfriend or girlfriend, or study hard, or like that typical Asian advice. Yeah. And then after you kind of sit through the pain, they give you an envelope, or they give you a card, whatever, and it's filled with money. And every single year we would get a payout of hundreds of dollars that we could spend on anything. Usually we don't get money. We didn't have allowance growing up as kids like some other cultures. We had to work for nothing. So this was the one and only time in the year where we get a payout, that was better than Christmas and birthday combined, because it was like a 5 to 10 fold ROI, and it was the best time of the year. So I know that's shallow, being a former pastor, but just keeping it real.
Wait, so what was like one of these envelopes, like how much was actually in there, like, and that was like way
Yeah,
back. So
yeah. So way back, I mean, it could be 20s, 50s, sometimes hundreds. And so I remember getting like anywhere from $200 to $500 ish as a kid. And I'm like,
that's
back
amazing.
then that was like a lot. You can do a lot with that kind of money. Nowadays, you can't do much.
I know. I remember back in the day, like my sister and I know it's really bad. We would not tune in front of the person that gave it to us, but we turn around and we'd shake it because, Canadian, right? Like if you got like coins, you're like, oh, it's like $2 or like $1, right? And if it's like not like that, we're like, okay, at least it's a bill, and we try to like hold it up to the light, like what's in there, right? But no, that's good. But I'm glad you got to spend it on whatever, because my parents, like, they would just take it from us afterwards. It's like, why did you like give it to us and like get us all excited if you're just gonna take it and then put it into the bank, right? So, but
That's
that's
funny.
that's amazing. Thanks for that. I'm reminiscing about that childhood memory, but thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So let's talk about, you mentioned your childhood. So what was it like growing up as Jaylee? Tell us a bit about your childhood, and then, get into the current timeline, how you became who you are today.
Sure. Being the youngest of three boys, growing up in a Christian family, being sheltered by my parents, my grandma lived with us as well. So it was a full house. There was, what is it, three, four, five, six people in the house. We came as immigrant family from Korea. My parents, even though they were educated in dairy science in Denmark with a full scholarship, my mom was a nurse in Busan, full scholarship. Both of them had worked very, very hard. It's a typical, at least the older traditional Asian story where I walked, 10 miles to school, and like my mom was poor, my dad was dirt poor. Like he told us stories where I think he was one of 12 kids and he had no shoes because they didn't have money. And his shoes were so worn out that he had holes at the bottom. So he had to literally stack cardboard in his shoes. And in the winter where it was snowing, I mean, it was not fun. They were so short of money, and actually his dad ran off with another mistress. That so it was a single mom with 12 kids. And get this, like this visual is just crazy. Like at that time when his mom was having so many kids, back in that time, it wasn't hospitals, it wasn't like midwives, it wasn't like all this amazing care. um, the explanation was that she would grab like this long towel and she would hang it and tie it around the door, and she would just like hang on like her whole weight to give that pressure, and literally the newborns would just drop on the floor. Right, that's 12 times, right? My dad was not the eldest, but he was one of the most responsible. I think he was like number three or four in the 12 children. And being the responsible one, and kind of, he had to grow up fast, and life was a struggle, and they were very poor. He had to go to the neighbors. I think they were on like a farm land in the middle of the night. And he would literally, in the dark, no lights, they don't have street lights like we do. He literally had to go to the neighbor's farm, and he had like a satchel, and he would take like a little shovel or his hands, and he would dig the ground, the dirt, in the middle of the night because he was looking for potatoes. He was looking for food that he could bring back to the family. And this whole walking 10 miles, and I didn't have shoes, and my mom used rice for glue, and when her pencils ran out, she attached a chopstick and tied it with elastic band to get the length. So she would collect her friends that were more well off, their stubs, their pencil stubs, and then she would take it and she would extend the life. And so people looked down on them because they were poor, they couldn't afford books, so they had to borrow books. It was just really, really tough. My mom was one of three kids, but both her siblings died. One drowned in a pool. The other one died of probably some simple flu that could have been cured with, today's medication. But because they had no money for the medicine, like her other sibling died. So she became an only child. All that to say was life was tough, even though they worked very hard and there was a lot of pressure. You probably experienced this being Asian, performance driven, our parents expecting a lot from us. There's a reason for that. It's not just made up, it's not just fabricated. And so life was not easy for us because being an immigrant family, they had to take their education and their work experience and it went down the drain when they came to Toronto, and they had to go back to school in a different language, in a different culture, no friends, no family, no money. I'm having a hard time, enough time in school with knowing English and being born and raised in Toronto, let alone I couldn't even imagine doing it in a different language. Like, there's French immersion here. I took French and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine everything being in French. So all that to say is, like, it was a tough life. And so I grew up sheltered, and I didn't actually ever have to find my voice and my identity because my parents tried to provide, they worked hard, and I was under the shadow of my two older brothers. So I naturally became that quote unquote introvert. And, even in school, you know, um, in my high school, I had a crush on this Chinese girl, and I was so shy, I couldn't even ask her out to the prom. And then when I actually mustered up enough courage, which was pretty late,
Sure, you had a
I,
date.
I was like, I thought I was gonna die, right? Like I'm like, fear of
Wait, wait. So did
rejection,
you get
fear
the
of failure.
date though?
No, I lost the date. I lost the
Oh,
sale because
you lost the sale. It was way
you know,
back. Don't worry about it.
I went to the library to where she was, and I missed so many opportunities because I just backed out, backed out, backed out. Abort mission, right? And the one time that I did, my two friends, my Greek friend and my Indian friend, no, sorry, not Greek, he was German and Indian friend were watching me kind of behind the book stands, like kind of laughing. And then I asked her, and she said, "Oh my gosh, I wish you had asked me earlier. Someone already asked me out." So I had a pretty good
Like
chance.
a
So
chance. You
it's
wait
almost
too
like saying,
long.
I know. So you're saying, it's almost like me saying, so you're saying there's still a chance? And so prom night comes, and she got dumped by her date. So I was like, I don't know how that all works, but yeah. So all that happening, complete introvert, couldn't find my voice, didn't speak up, downtown Toronto, in Kensington Market. So my parents uh, had a delicatessen or a sandwich shop, and they were going downtown, and they asked me to tell the police officers, because police, they're all over the place, and they are really quick to ticket you with parking tickets for
Mm,
illegal parking.
yeah.
My parents were just going in and out just to get some cold cuts and meats and stuff like that for their business, and they asked me to tell the police officers that that my parents are coming soon, don't give us a ticket. So that introvertedness, and trying to be a good Asian kid, was like, it was a battle. And then as
Mm.
soon as the police showed up, I went into the back seat and went into a fetal position.
Oh no.
And that's kind of my story, is like, they gave us a ticket, and my parents came out and said, "What happened?" And they're like, "Why didn't you tell them? You said you were going to tell them." And I'm just like, I don't know. I just don't have that courage. I don't
Mm.
have that confidence. I don't have. So business. Fast forward, I was in one of the largest banks here in Toronto, Canada. I became a pastor, but for 10 years, I was struggling to make ends meet as a pastor, as a missionary. I was actually delivering newspapers, okay, and making a fraction of what teenagers were making flipping hamburgers at McDonald's. It was bad. Married with three kids, I needed a solution. Basically came across an ad from a successful digital marketer. I didn't know who that was and what they did. And I was so desperate because I thought, this newspaper gig is not working out for me, and I don't want to flip burgers, no offense. Um, and I reached out to him on LinkedIn with a personalized video message, and I got myself a job within 24 hours. And from that time, I started not knowing anything about sales. I don't have any certifications. I don't have any training. I don't have any knowledge. I don't even understand the industry. So for those of you who are starting out, who are looking at doing your own entrepreneurial, venture, or who are looking into getting into the coaching or sales space, I knew nothing. I knew pastoring for 10 years, and that was not at all, what I was trained for in the sales space. And I started closing, very quickly, $83,000, $105,000 in a very short time in 1 month, and recently closed over $1 million in 90 days part time. People caught wind, you know, um, even 7, 8, 9, 10 figure coaches were intrigued in how I was able to close at 80% close rates, which basically means 8 out of 10 calls I would be able to enroll or close. Cash collected at 96%. consecutive months, which means if you have a ticket price of, let's say, $10,000, on average, I would collect $9,600 of 10,000, which I didn't know was a big deal, but apparently these numbers are pretty extreme or pretty insane.
Impressive, yeah.
Um, so people kept knocking on my door, for years, asking me, "How are you doing this? How can you teach us how to sell?" And I was like, "Man, I don't know what I'm doing." And I finally gave in after several years, and started my own sales coaching business actually in January, which is just several months ago. Went from 0 to 64K in 30 days, part time, with a free Facebook group that I started from scratch. It wasn't like I had a massive following. I didn't have any following, to be honest. And I have coaches and mentors to thank, like Tuan and Corey from Premier Excel. I've got Nick Kosman, Akbar Sheikh, Vince Del Monte. These guys are all like, million dollar, multi-million dollar earners. So I basically learned from these top entrepreneurs in the world within these systems and blueprints. And then within 100 days, I want to show you this. This is my Akbar Sheikh six-figure trophy, which is hitting $100,000.
Wow.
This was in 100 days. So, it was crazy. I just didn't believe in myself. I didn't have the confidence to succeed. I had imposter syndrome, limiting beliefs, fear of failure, former introvert, pastor with a poverty mindset. And I just figured I can't keep doing these newspaper routes. I can't keep doing these part-time jobs. So that's why I had to pivot and go
Pivot.
into something else. Yeah.
And you were saying you were married with 3 kids at the time before you even switched careers. So tell us what that's like, before we get into the sales part, but how is it like being a father of 3 and you have a dog, right? And,
Yeah.
how do you do it all? Because people always talk about, in this day and age, we're always, what's that called? Where we're all sort of like one-upping each other on like how busy or how stressed we are. It's almost like we wear it with a badge of honor, and it's
I
crazy.
know.
Everyone who's all about like self-love, self-care is like, this is not what we need to be proud of and wear it with a badge of honor that we're so busy. Like we're like, oh, you're busy, I'm busy too, and like da-da-da-da-da. Where it's like,
Yeah.
no, it's actually really bad. So tell us how you manage it all. Like what are the secrets? Tell us.
Well, I think that's why you should be a time or accountability coach, which I mentioned. I think there's $1 million for you to be made at least, because you're really good at keeping time and keeping people accountable and staying organized. And guess what? People have all sorts of mess in their lives. And I think there's something for you there. And this is just my thing to you. And I said it first here before you become this big celebrity, this time audit
You did
coach or
say it
whatever.
first. Mhm.
I did. And I'll encourage you to, and I can teach you how to do that. So yeah, I think in this day and age, especially in this Asian culture, the busier you are, the almost like more important you are, or the more it's celebrated, right? In this culture. But I think when COVID and the pandemic hit and everything was shut down, we all of a sudden had all this disposable time and income, and even with 3 kids, like because they had my kids are playing soccer like 13 times a week, right, between the 3 kids, because they play rep soccer. I coach their teams. They play volleyball. Like there's so many things that they do outside of what I do for my business. And so it's crazy. It feels like it's unsustainable and it's not healthy. So I agree with you. I think we need to find fewer things to do well instead of doing so many things. And even in the culture, Asian culture, and even in the church culture, it's like, hey, look at what my son or daughter is doing, or look how many activities are involved with. Oh, you seem so important, or you seem so busy, or you seem so. I'm like, the less I can do, the better. But I mean, they should be able to learn something, not nothing. So they shouldn't, it's not good to be like the couch potato and playing Switch and doing Fortnite all day for, 5 hours a day, which is very easy to do, especially when you have kids and they're on media and tablets and all that stuff. But that they, like just, I don't know, when we were kids, we would go outside and we would play for hours, right? So
Yeah, I
it's
was like,
hard. Yeah.
you just remind me of that memory of like, yeah, when we were kids, we were happy just playing. Like we didn't have toys and all these gadgets and digital things. We were like, go outside and play, or like go play with yourselves, not in that dirty way. It was just like, we didn't have all these things that people, and now people get bored so easily. But anyways, but But I'm going to dive a little bit deeper because I'm sure people are like, how does this guy make like clothes on 7 figures and then 3 kids and coaching and all this? And I know I'm, I feel like a superwoman, all the things that I do, but, tell us the secrets as in, do you have a team of people behind you, like someone running your social and, you know, tell us like, between your wife and yourselves, like who picks up the kids and who does this and you know what I mean? Like how do you actually do it all? You know?
Yeah, I think the easy answer is I don't know, and we don't do it well. I don't know and we don't do well, but in what we do, in what we try to live out every day, it's a battle, right? Like we have to basically sync our schedules in our in our marriage. We have to continually look at our calendars, excuse me, and we need to continually sync, who's doing what on what days. So we have a very clear schedule on pickup, drop-offs for the kids. We have, cooking schedules. We have cleaning schedules. The key, if you become a parent, or for those who are parents out there, is getting your kids to take responsibility, right? And
Do you
so,
have like a chart or like the chart that's like, I don't know all your kids' names, but it's like you're doing this dishes
yeah,
and then you're doing garbage and you're doing this. And is there like a reward system? Because I know a lot of parents do like you get whether it's to use money as an incentive or it's like you get playtime on
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
Nintendo Switch. You know what I mean? Like what's the system like?
yeah. So you have to be a judo master. So you have to be judo this, judo that, right? That's just a bad joke. But for us, growing up, we didn't get allowance. But I find for my kids, they're either incentivized through monetary or through media. Okay, monetary or media, because they love, being on their phones or being on
Like games?
their video games. Yeah, video games, Fortnite or Minecraft. So we kind of give them credits for both media and money. So there is a schedule. Truth be told, my 8-year-old, who's going on 18, she changed my car tires. Yeah, 8 years old. She's in grade 3. She changed my car tires from all season to winter. I taught her, and I obviously was there to supervise. I've got pictures to show this. She changed all 4 of my tires, and she just mowed the lawn 2 days ago.
She's
You got to
8.
think she's 8. She's like smaller than the thing, right? Like,
Oh my
right?
goodness, that's so cute. It's cute, but actually, do some people go like you're like a slave driver, GA? Like what the heck is going on?
I didn't even ask her to do it. She wanted to do it. So I'm like, I don't know if this is
Wait,
safe. So I was,
for the incentive or just like she's like, I
no,
just
no, she didn't even ask for money. She's a kind of girl and daughter that everyone dreams about, right? She's an angel most of the time. She's the one who, like, just say you have some errands to run, or just say you have to cook something, she'll read your mind, and before you even ask her, she'll get that ingredient. She'll get that pot. She'll start boiling the water. Like, she puts her apron on. She'll start sewing up your button from
she's
your blouse
wifey
that came off.
material. She's wifey material. Tell me when she's at least 18 and I'll get her in Toronto Dating Hub and
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
get
yeah,
her
yeah.
a husband.
Yeah, she is incredible. So I think, with that, there is a schedule, there is a monetary and media credit system, if you will, that seems to work really well because, you know, that's what they're incentivized. You and I, at least when I was growing as a kid, my kids, my parents were working, and in the rain we'd be playing with worms. One of my neighbors ate a worm, right? Like, it was just like,
Did I always hear that like so and so earworm? I never know if that's actually true. Like he
oh
actually
yeah, oh yeah. There is a guy at the end of our street, and when it rains and there's like those puddles, there's these long worms, and there was a dare, and he took the dare. I didn't dare him, by the way, and he just he I don't know, he ate it. It was just disgusting. So
now curious about like your childhood and the from your Korean background. Is there anything like I want to know? Is there anything you're like I absolutely that cringe or I hate, and I'm never gonna do that to my kids kind of thing? Versus, is there anything from your childhood and your heritage that you're like, you know what, this is something I'm gonna pass on to my kids?
mm. In the Korean culture, there's something that is a love and hate for me, and you probably have experienced this in your own culture, is the hierarchy system. So with age comes power. Spider-Man says with power comes
Your
responsibility. Is that right?
responsibility.
Was that what he says?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in the Asian culture, with age comes power. So, for example, growing up in my church, I had older guys. Maybe they were like 10 years older than me. Even if you're a year older, because I went to Korea on this trip, there's like this system or this culture where if you're a year older or even older in any years, you get to tell people what to do. So if you're my younger brother, so to speak, or younger than me, which you are, obviously you're a girl, but I would say, hey, go get me that water. Hey, can you get me my slippers? Hey, go, like, so that's accepted culture. And so in the church where I grew up, there was a couple of guys who were demanding respect, demanding, like basically like treating it like a slave in these marching orders. And one guy literally, I think he tried to drag me to like put some chairs away. I think I was in grade 6 or 7. And
Mhm.
I'm that introvert. I skip grades. I was a good kid, so I always try to listen and please my parents. But something inside of me just snapped that time because it was just like I've had it. And little by little, week after week, it's almost like bullying, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And then that one time, he dragged my shirt and was like, "Hey, you're gonna do this," and I was like, "Get off me," right? And I found my voice.
Yeah.
The sales ninja was born, right? And he tried to get me back in. I'm like, "Don't touch me," and I just walked out, right? And I was like, that was my win as a grade 6, very young, not being able to find my voice. That's what I hate about this culture is there's a demand for respect. There's a demand for, you owe me or I'm entitled. What I love about it, and I want to start with end with a good side, is there's a love and respect and admiration when it's done properly. And there's almost like, in the Filipino culture, I think they put their hands and they put it on the elderly or the grandparents' head. It's a form of respect and admiration. In Korean culture, it's annyeonghaseyo. It's like, in Japanese, like there's a
Wow.
lot of cultures in the Asian culture where we bow,
Yeah.
and there's a term of endearment that says, I'm going to respect you and serve you. I think that's beautiful. And I think, a lot of other cultures may not have that, which I think in some ways, we're missing out if we're not being able to have that term of endearment, affection, and admiration, and pass that tradition of oral secrets. Like, for example, kimchi. Kimchi is, instead of store bought, moms or grandmas or mother-in-laws that make it are 100 times better than store bought. So
Yes.
you want to pass that tradition through oral tradition. So there's something respectful and something that we can admire where we can pass down generation after generation after generation.
So you can make good kimchi?
No, it
Your
was just
wife?
an example.
Okay.
No, you know what? I say to my wife, my sister-in-law, and even myself, I'm like, we got to learn this before, the generation stops, are
Yeah.
not able to, or they're not living, right? So,
Okay, that's my challenge to you, Jay. You're
okay.
wonderful at a lot of things, but as a Korean, like you gotta learn the secret, whatever, in like the recipe or whatever you gotta, and then pass it down, please.
Okay. Okay. That's the challenge.
I'm gonna check in 6 months to see if that's
Okay. I
accountability.
gotta write, I gotta write
Accountability.
this down.
And to
There
the
you
people
go.
who are watching, yes,
Oh my
Jay was
gosh.
really good. If you're able to get his time, he's really good at telling you, like figuring out what your talent is, your skill set, like your unique skill set, or if it's your business, like he's just amazing. And so we're gonna switch gears to talk more about your business and your just how amazing you are with that. And we have a question from the audience from Steve earlier about what industries do you do, or do you close deals in any specific sector or right across the board?
Okay, yeah, that's a good question. So, Steve, great question. I was closing for SaaS, software as a service. I was closing for health coaches. I was closing for finance, which is fractional CFOs. I was closing for coaches, business coaches to help grow businesses, sales coaches. I have opportunities to close for real estate, commercial real estate, growing those businesses. So there's a lot of industries. As long as you have an expertise You can be a coach. A coach doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be certified or a stamp of approval. It just means that you need to have a zone of genius or an expertise. So my industries are basically high ticket coaching, and whatever that zone of genius, whether it's finance, relationships, marriages, sales, fitness, it can be right across the board. It's a very, very, very lucrative industry where some of the clients that I work with are making $10,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $1 million a month. So it ranges.
Amazing. I like that you reminded us, like, and even for yourself, you're like, I had no like schooling or certification specifically, but you found your calling, you found your niche, and now you're making it big. So that's amazing. We had another question from Echo here. Let me see if it says I can show on screen here.
Ooh, nice
Thank you.
job.
Yeah, I know. This is amazing, Melon here, this platform. Thank you, Andrea and Jay. What are your thoughts about the perception of sales positions in the Asian culture? Do you feel there's an obvious difference in sales approach between selling to Asians versus non-Asians? And just so you know, so Echo is she's a yoga instructor. She owns that. She does that for corporate corporations as well, but she also does it, to individuals. And she also runs a really awesome pup yoga, which actually I help with. But yeah, and Echo's starting to do coaching, like life coaching, etc., motivational coach. So thank you for your question, Echo.
So what are your thoughts about the perception of sales position in the Asian culture?
And I think with that, it's because I know, like, even in the Chinese culture, I mean, we grew up with our parents being like, I know my parents are like, the professions are, you be a CA, an engineer, a lawyer, anything with those designations that you could put behind your name, and anything else beyond that, it's like, why are you doing that? Like, that's not going to get you money, right? And I can go on about that. So it's sort of like, what's your perception about that, and then, in your experience so far, has there been differences in your sales approach with Asians versus non-Asians? And if you have any advice with that.
Yeah. So great question. Love your name, Echo. Looking forward to meeting you. And I did see the pup yoga thing where you just filled up this room. That was really amazing. That's really niche, which is very powerful for monetizing a business. By the way, we can talk later. So the perception of sales position in the Asian culture. So my parents had a self-fulfilled prophecy of 3 predestined careers for a lot of Asians before they're born. Every conversation goes to either studying. So we could be talking about, I like the blueberry waffles or the Eggo waffles. And my parents would be like, hey, if you study harder and go to medical school, you can afford many of those. I'm just like, it was studying in medical school, right? So either you have 3 self-prophecies of either doctor, dentist, lawyer, always in that order. I don't know why, don't ask me why, but I'm sure there's a method to their crazy. So they brainwashed me my entire life. Emotional damage. Right. So, yeah, I think the perception of sales is like in Asian culture is like, that's slimy, that's sleazy, that's, it's not even a good living. My parents, when I pivoted from pastoring to sales, were like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a sales ninja. And they're like, we can't tell people about that. That's embarrassing, right? Are you wearing a stretchy suit with a cape and saving the world one person at a time? Like, what do you even do? I'm like, I don't know. I closed deals. I've closed $1 million in 90 days. I've created my own sales business where I've done $100,000 in 100 days. And their answer, even all those impressive things, and you're saying all these amazing things, they're like, go get a real job.
Oh my God. That's
and they're like, make some real money or get, they would say even like if I made $64,000 in 30 days, I made more money in 30 days than I have in a year. They'd be like, that's a good salary. That's a good annual income. I'm like, Dad, that was 30 days. He goes, no, that's a good income for the year. Like, it's almost like we're like, they don't understand because they come from, the background is immigrant.
Yeah.
He was, digging for potatoes. The mindset is like, I don't even know what you do. Is even anything that you're saying legal? And you saying these numbers is impossible.
It's like they need to
So
see us like in a 9-to-5 job or in an office, see us like grunt, like do actual work. Because if you make easy money or you don't have an actual full-time job, they're like, that's not a real job. Like,
yeah, because I mean, when the bank, my mother-in-law was like, don't ever leave, right? Because you have a good paying job. safe, secure, traditional corporate nine to
It's got
five.
benefits.
Yeah, benefits, employee, like all these things, right? Which is wonderful. And they actually, before I got married, my mother-in-law asked me not to leave because she said it's not financially stable for my daughter, her daughter. And I was even like, she even had this inkling that I might go into pastoral ministry, and she says, by all means, don't be that. And when I eventually left the banking industry and went into pastoring, I'd say my parents almost disowned me, like a sappy Korean drama with background music and rain coming down. I was not living
They're
their dream.
religious too, right?
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah.
So would they be
But
like, okay, if you take this route, at least, because if
you
they're
can
like,
give to the church, but don't be the church. Don't be that pastor, right? Like we sacrifice our whole lives so that you wouldn't be poor.
yeah,
Right? I was kind of like you're kind of like spoiling the whole plan of why we came here. It's like we came and we sacrificed our entire lives so that you can make it and be successful, not to be living in poverty. Or not that I did live in poverty, but it got pretty close to that.
but in their head,
Um,
yeah.
and when they went to church, they couldn't brag about me to their friends because I don't know this. I may have been an embarrassment when they asked what their son did, and their answer may have been, "Can you pass the coffee? Let's talk about what your son is specializing in medical school right now." Right?
Oh my God, yeah. So back to the sales tactics. Did you find that you sell differently to Asians versus non-Asians?
Not at all. You know, I I try to not, I don't even try to be. I'm kind of colorblind. Like I treat people as human beings. Doesn't matter if they're Asian, non-Asian, yellow, black, white, red, pink. It doesn't matter to me. All I
Right.
know is that there's a pain, there's a dream, and the gap is I have a solution. And so if I can not I don't believe I can help everyone. And I definitely don't want to push people beyond, what they want to do. I don't want to force the cart out of the wallet. I've been trained by all these different, gurus and different coaches, and some of the strategies and tactics are pretty, I don't know, unethical, if you will. And it is what it is because that's how, people try to succeed in business, treat people as a means to an end. So I was in pastoral ministry not to make money for 10 years, obviously. So the
Yeah.
practicing of serving, having over 40,000 conversations and leading over 10,000 people to faith in God was my school of hard knocks of how to build, grow authentic relationships and love and serve them without any strings attached. So on my sales presentations or sales calls, if you were on the call, I'd be like, "Hey, Andrea, we're going to have this 45 minutes where we're going to be talking about your business. I'm going to take my sales hat off today and just let you know that I'm not going to sell you beyond what you want to be sold. I'm not going to pitch you or upsell you on things that you don't need. Just like when you go to a dealership and they do a 10-point inspection and you went for an oil change for like $50, and now there's a bill saying, here's a $6,000 job that we need to do. These 9 items you don't really need, but it'd be good if you did it. And if you didn't
Mhm.
do it, your tires might fall off, which is not true, right? They
Yeah.
just they just gouge you, right?
Yeah.
So I only try to give people what they need and what they want. And if we're a good fit, then I'll be like, hey, you might be a good candidate and I can help you grow and scale your business. I decline many people who are not a good fit, who don't have the mindset that is ready to be positioned in posture to succeed. So, because I want to make sure that I help um, people be successful because I'm a coach outside of coaching. So my goal and my passion and my ministry as a former pastor, former introvert, is to help people succeed and win.
So you talk a lot about, coaches and gurus that you've had. And so people who are either starting out or, as a coach, because, if you talk about having coaches and gurus, I want to know, before, obviously you're really successful today, how many coaches, or to be honest, if you feel comfortable sharing, like how much did you invest in yourself in in getting coaching and these gurus or these webinars or whatever, how to get to where you are today? Because I know some people are on the fence about like, do I need a coach? And also out there, because there's so many, like you said, it's a lucrative industry, but there are so many coaches out there who claim they can help you and do this in a short time, in 3 days and 90 days and 60 days and in whatever, right? So for people who are on the fence, or they're just not sure, or they're not sure how much to spend and invest, do you mind sharing a little bit about this?
Not at all. So Jesus answered people in the most powerful way. So I'll answer with the story, the narrative.
Right.
So he, basically, when I was trying to figure stuff out, I tried free webinars, free YouTube videos, free email opt-ins, and there's all these different pieces of information that's like drinking from a fire hose. And it was just like I was inundated. So I was like doing this, and this person said, "Don't do that." I was doing this, and person said, "Do the opposite." So it was very, very confusing. So I listened to a podcast of a billionaire, and the host basically, "What's the secret to your success?" And he basically said, the billionaire said, "The secret to my success is a simple four-letter word that starts with H." So guess what? I'm like on the podcast, I'm just like, right? Because I listen to, and this is something that I would suggest to everyone watching, listen to people, and only people who are getting the results that you would like to trade for, right? So for example, if someone is making millions of dollars, listen to them. If someone is a dating coach who has 10,000 clients, listen to them. If someone is a TEDx speaker and a best-selling author, listen to them if that's what you want to do. So listen to the people that are getting the results that you would like to trade for. So he said the four-letter word that's a secret to his success that starts with H is HIRE.
Higher.
Yeah, so do what you do best, outsource the rest. So I'm not good at a lot of things, but the things that I'm not good in, he said, I wasn't a good speaker. So why spend a whole lifetime to try to figure out how to speak? So he hired one of the top speaking coaches. And let's say he spent, I don't know, $25,000 on that coach, which is crazy. And then with his speaking engagements, he made $250,000, right? So he made 10x. And then he said, I want to improve my golf game so I can beat my buddies and outdrive them. So he hired the top swing or golf coach. He hired a health coach to help his nutrition and lose weight. So, I highly recommend that you hire and do what you do best, outsource the rest. In my personal journey, I spent or invested over almost $100,000 over 10 years. And on top of that, more important than that is I spent tens of thousands of hours very quietly focused in figuring out how to crack this code and hiring people, hiring mentors and coaches to help me, acquire the skills and assets. Billionaires only invest in assets that yield ROI. So yeah.
That'd be amazing if you have time, like later on. I mean, just comment on some of whether they're books or podcasts of 3 to 5 of your top sort of resource for people starting out, or just who do you recommend about reading or watching or even hiring? And I'm sure your network of coaches would be very valuable. All right. I think you're trying to grab a notes. And I know you have a sales masterclass coming up soon. So I know we're running out of time because I just
Yeah.
ask you so many more questions, as this is
We'll do a part 2.
yes, definitely, if you have time for that. But I guess
Absolutely.
you have to go in what, 6 minutes, is it, or
I'm good for 10.
10? Okay. And what's this book that you're about to hold up here? 100 million offers. Is
So
that
I think he's doing, gosh, I'm going to butcher this, but I think he's doing like 100, 150 million. I don't know. He's doing a lot. He's doing like millions a week. He's making
right?
Alex Hormozy is the founder of Gym Launch,
Mm.
and he created something called $100 million offers. You can get it on Audible for like 99 cents, and the book is like, I don't know, $30. I highly recommend that everyone buys this and do both, because when you do the Audible and when you do the book, you will gain more retention. And basically, in a nutshell, he says how to make offers so good people feel stupid saying no.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. That's
Russell Brunson is the founder of ClickFunnels, who is another, I know he's a multi-millionaire. And so in terms of resources, the $100 million offers, in terms of mindset, The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. I can't seem to write in the comments here. I don't know if it's disabled.
oh,
I would have
really?
typed it in. Yeah, it just
It's
shows the comments, but I can't comment on it.
at the bottom. Oh,
Um,
really?
Yeah,
Okay,
it
well,
says
later on the Facebook channel, you can always or send it
okay,
to me and I can post it, whichever
okay,
works. But would love,
okay.
I'm sure the audience would love to hear that. And um, something you said earlier, I mean, sometimes it's really intimidating. Like I'll admit, I'll be like, oh my god, I'm talking to Jay, who's now become a seven-figure, closer, and people who are starting off, right? Like I'm still early in my business, and so I don't have 10,000 clients or followers yet. So for people who are starting out to stay motivated, or what was your can you share any secrets to your success? Because like you said, right, like you didn't have a huge following, and you know what I mean, you when we all begin, right, we're like, we need our first customer or we need our first 10. And so how did you stay motivated, and also like what were your tactics to like move that along?
Oh my gosh, we can have a whole series on every single week for the next year. Okay, so a couple of things, and because you're gonna drink from a fire hose because it's gonna be rapid fire. There's lots of things. Number one, never give up. Number two, stay consistent. Number three, show up even when you don't feel like showing up. Number four, hire to buy back time and make ROI. Okay. Number five, acquire skills and assets that will yield you ROI. So like the Audible, I do subscription because it's basically it's better than my degrees. I've got many, many degrees that have done very little to nothing. So that's another topic in itself. We'll do another show on that. And these, simple, resources have, yielded like 10 times the investment, or actually more than that, 100 times. So I think mindset, if I can summate everything into one place in space, mindset trumps everything. Because if we don't believe in ourselves, if we don't, I always say sales without faith is dead. And the Bible says faith without actions is dead. In sales without faith is dead. So if we don't believe in ourselves, which many of us don't, including myself, if we don't believe in the gift and the voice and the solution that we have for the world, as you heard my story, I didn't have enough confidence to speak up, find my identity, just to even defend or like do anything really. And I found that at grade six when, that person was forcing me and I said, that's enough. And so I think mindset will determine everything, trajectory, traction. If you're just starting out, the question, if you don't have a lot of clients, is offer free service, offer a free, dating discovery call. So maybe people are on a dating scene, and guess what? Their pain is going to be they don't trust you, they don't know you, they've been burned, they've hired other people. So give it to them for free and say, we're going to do a 22-minute free dating discovery call where we're going to see if we're a good fit. And if we're a good fit, we have a couple of events and programs that you can join if you want. And if you want to go even further and offer this irresistible offer, which is offers that are so good, people feel stupid saying no. Say normally, your next Eventbrite, which is, the $60 dinner dining with business entrepreneurs. I'm going to sponsor you in the first one. We only have 3 spots that we're doing a scholarship. You're the last person that we're offering this to because obviously the 2 spots are gone. And we're sponsoring you because we have some corporate sponsors that are sponsoring people who don't trust us and people who are starting out and trying to get back into the dating scene or the business scene or whatever it is that you're offering. So that's a slam dunk offer. You're going to get people taking you up on that offer all day, every day. In exchange, what you can ask for is a video testimonial that's 60 seconds or less if you found value in this dating discovery call. And then now you have 50 to 100 social proof, testimonials, videos of people said, I got on a call with Andrea from the Toronto Event Hub. She helped debunk and demystify so many things that I was struggling with from other dating apps and coaches and programs that I've jumped on. She even offered a free call and gave me a scholarship. She's the real deal. I think, her events, her program, her offering is incredible. I joined the jet skiing event. I joined the salsa dancing event. I joined the pup yoga event, and they were just smashing. And now I've got a partner, or now I'm married, or, I'm just making stuff up.
I love it. I love it. Oh man, we could talk forever, Jay. This was so good. I want to talk about because one of your slogans or taglines is how to sell without sounding sleazy or with boring offers, and you can help them do it, and I don't remember if it's like 10x 2x whatever your sales figures within 90 days. And I want to like learn the secrets, at least share. And I know people should definitely talk to you further. But really quickly before you have to go, how can people find you, and what are your current offers, where if people are sort of intrigued or excited, like how do they talk to you or get more from you?
Yeah, so promotions, I have a $2,000 scholarship for 10 spots. 4 spots have been taken, and I just launched my Sales Ninja show, which I'll just mention in just a moment. So, long story shorter, my 14-year-old daughter nearly passed away 2 years ago. She had a stroke and she collapsed on the soccer field where she was playing, and we nearly lost her in the ambulance. So she's lived 2 years. She's fine. She's healthy. She was 12 at the time. So I'm offering the 2 years of extra life that God has given us. I'm offering a $2,000 scholarship for the next 10 clients within the TES and within the Toronto event hub that call me, and for a good fit, comment Sales Ninja below if you want to talk. I'm not going to sell you. I'm not going to be sleazy. I don't need more clients. I'm looking for case studies. So I'm offering a $2,000 scholarship. I'll let you know right now, I'm not the cheapest. I'm not the most affordable, but I get you results, and your ROI is going to be double at least, if not 10x. So that's one thing. The second thing is you can join my free Facebook group. I'll give you the details after, Andrea, at www.gosalesninja.com/Facebook group, gosalesninja.com/Facebook group. And in there, you'll have all the show details for my brand new Sales Ninja show launch, which just launched Tuesday and Friday. So every single week, twice weekly, I'm going to be offering Sales Ninja training for free. So Tuesdays is training days, and Fridays is hot seat Q&A, where the show is called Take My Money, and it's called the Hot Seat Q&A, where I'm going to have entrepreneurs and coaches. We're going to have like a party theme, and we're going to get people unstuck in real time with any questions that they have. So it's basically free coaching and consulting.
Wow. Wow.
Sharky says Jay is not sleazy in the comments.
Justin says very, very wholesome conversation. There's a few people already said, I want to talk to Jay. So yes, definitely, if you want more, type Sales Ninja in the comments. And when Jay's able to type in the chat, I'm sorry, I don't know why you can't type it in there. I can, but
just for the host right now.
So yeah, definitely give us the the top resources that you recommend, and all your sort of links and offers. That would be amazing. Thank you so much. And I know you're just about to run off to do your sales masterclass, which I'm excited for. Thanks for the invite. But
yes,
thank you so much for your time, Jay. I'm so glad you were able to, slot me into your really busy calendar. And this was wonderful. You add so much value. You're a joy to talk to. You're an amazing human. And I'm just inspired by you always. And thank you so much for today's chat.
Well, I want to say this. I want to thank you, Andrea, for having me, and you and Sharky and Niggy. Like, you guys have been there from the very beginning, where nobody knew who I was, and in a very short time, I'm not any different. So, when I see you next time, it's like no big deal. It's like Justin's in the house. Like, I've known these guys where, from the very get-go, just trying to stay in my lane, trying to find my zone of genius, trying to figure out my offer, trying to be real and authentic, and just show up, stay consistent, disciplined, focused, and work smarter, not harder, so that we can continue to develop the businesses, the income that we could only dream of, to have the freedom, finance, family, and the fortune.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much again, Jay. And to everyone in the audience today, from Justin, Sharky, Steve, Echo, Alex, all of you guys out there. I think we had people from Belgium or Philippines.
Wow.
Internationally, which I think it's thanks to you, Jay.
Amazing.
But, hearts to all of you. And Mike, thank you so much for watching and tuning in. And for sure, you all witnessed it. Jay said there's going to be a part 2. So, and we're going to get Jay learning how to make kimchi himself. Remember? So accountability. We're gonna do this.
Yeah. And being Asian, we got to do the hearts, right? Oh, your hearts are so good. I obviously don't do this much.
I'm practicing so many of these virtual calls. But if you ever need a cheerleader, For anyone,
Okay.
I'm there for you. Thanks so much, Jay. I don't want you to be late for your class, but
Yeah,
thank you everyone for
you're
watching.
welcome.
Stay tuned. We'll have more from Jay and our other sort of highlights for Asian Heritage Month. Thank you so much for celebrating with me. Thanks everybody. Have a wonderful morning and week.